Cindy! 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 Cindy!
Hey!
Cindy!
Jim!
Cindy!
Mark!
Cindy!
Mark!
Cindy! 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 Cindy!
What?
Attention!
Mark Wilkins. He's a dad. He's the dad. He's the daddest dad to ever dad in Resident Evil, with Barry Burton as his sole competition in this series. At first glance, Mark seems like one of the simpler characters in the Outbreak games. However, there's a lot more to dig into than it would first appear. On today's episode of Character Obsessed, we will be dissecting our own Outbreak dad to see what makes him tick. Wait a minute. You. Something I've always loved about the Outbreak games is that the cast consists of average, everyday people wanting to live average, everyday lives. In contrast to the other main characters of this series, being elite police or government agents constantly in a back and forth with a femme fatale super spy, if you saw these people on the street or at the supermarket, you wouldn't bat an eye. Unless Jim was screaming about his crappy life, but we'll get to that another time. Of these characters, perhaps the most normal is Mark. He was an upstanding citizen with a wife and teenage son that he provided for. He fought in the Vietnam War, like many other unfortunate souls back in the day, and suffers mild PTSD from his time there. He held a stable job at an unnamed security company, and would often clink bottles with his coworker Bob over at Jay's bar after a shift. Given that it's Raccoon City, it's hard to imagine that the company he worked for wasn't owned by Umbrella in some shadowy way, but that's purely speculation. It was a simple life, but damn if Mark didn't have it down to a science. Something interesting and a bit frustrating for me is that, unlike a lot of the others, Mark's SP items don't actually offer much in terms of details about him. They're mostly just clothing, or gifts for his family. A lot of gifts for his family, actually. He must really love them. True to his character backstory, Mark gets along with almost everyone. Almost. Mark has strong family values that clash hard against Kevin's rude dude with the dude personality, and as such they try to keep it pandemic style. If only Raccoon City could follow simple rules. Oddly enough, however, Outbreak File 2's partner system reveals that Mark's two best friends are David and Jim. David shares a bad ending in File 1 with Mark, but it's harder to parse where his connection to Jim lies. If I had to hazard a guess, Mark probably finds Jim funny. He's pretty stone-faced, but I could see them laughing it up together while Mark has some hearty steak and beans at the bar. Speaking of which, it's generally assumed that Mark's wife and son were out of town at the beginning of the outbreak in Raccoon City. If there is a god, I think Mark thanks them every night before bed for that. Like the rest of the cast, Mark visited Jay's bar on the evening of the initial outbreak to have a late dinner after a long work shift. Where we have to guess and place together certain paths, Mark's is much easier to discern from the information that the game gives us. It's 100% canon that he stays at the bar and goes through the events of File 1's first scenario. We know this because he has unique cutscenes involving his infected coworker Bob, who was here having dinner with him. When you play as Mark here, or if he's an AI partner, then a weak, barely conscious Bob will spawn as an NPC that you have to guide through the map. It's so weird. You'd think there'd be a better canon survivor for Jay's bar, like a bartender or a waitress of some sort that works at the bar. Oh well, you get what you get. Outbreak fans are used to crushing disappointment. Anyway, despite Mark's best efforts, Bob has three options: die from getting beaten up too much in gameplay, die from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to prevent zombification,
Bob.
or die from zombification on very hard difficulty. This Mass Effect 3 mod kind of sucks. After Bob dies, a sullen Mark continues on his way and eventually levels the main street of the city alongside Kevin, Cindy, and others. From here, Mark's path leads him somewhere. Outbreak's level structure is fun like that. We see him enter police protection at the end of File 1's first scenario, so perhaps he reached the RPD and eventually broke off to meet up with his friend David. My best theory is that they stuck together afterward, and eventually found their way to the Umbrella Lab in the end of the road scenario. It's possible that he goes to the university instead, but I think that's unlikely given his strong relationship with David. Other characters have a much better relationship with George, so it makes more sense that they'd follow him to the university. No matter how he escapes, though, Mark's epilogue shows him finding his family again. He gets a hefty chunk of settlement money for his minor inconvenience in the city, and lives happily ever after. Good job, family man. When it comes to actually playing as Mark, you're stepping into the shoes of possibly the only example in this series of a true tank character. That paunch isn't just for show. Mark has the highest HP value by measures. He has 3000 HP, which is a shocking 700 HP more than Kevin, who is in second place. The dude is stacked. His HP is 2.31 Yokos, stacked together to be exact. As if that wasn't enough reason to play him, Mark's special skill allows him to block enemy attacks. He can even block enemy grabs, ensuring that he's banned from tournament play of any respectable fighting game. While blocking, Mark cannot be knocked over in any way from directly in front of him, and some attacks don't even do damage. The dad is our rock in the storm. Still not convinced? Okay, you snippy contrarian. Try this one. Mark's ability can even block actual instant kill moves, like the axe murderer's swing in the flashback scenario. What the heck has he been dealing with at this security company? When it comes to offense, Mark is proficient with melee weapons. Similar to Kevin's potshot ability with handguns, Mark can charge a more powerful melee swing by holding the aim button down and staying still for a moment. Unfortunately in File 1, this is more of a hindrance than a help. It takes a very long time to charge up, and you're more likely to smack a wall than a zombie if you're in any sort of tight corridor. However, with File 2 adding the ability to aim upward or downward using his charge, it becomes way more useful. In addition to his charge finishing faster in the second title, aiming down allows Mark to perform an overhead strike, ensuring that accidental wall smashes are far less frequent and less infuriating. Lastly, Mark receives a unique handgun that does slightly more damage than normal pistols. It's kinda weird, considering his melee focus, but I suppose he is a security guard. Perhaps a pipe or something would have fit better in terms of gameplay, but far be it for me to dunk on the dad aesthetic. I graciously accept 15 free emergency bullets. With that, we've wrapped up the overview of Mark Wilkins. He's a good guy, a real PG-rated wholesome dude, but like 80s PG, where he's not afraid to beat someone's head in to protect his family and friends. I'm certainly glad he survived the disaster, and I hope he gets to chill with the family for the rest of his days. Thank you for making it to the end of episode 2 of Character Obsessed. If you liked the video, hit it with a thumbs up, and tell me what you liked in the comments down below. I'm glad to hear any constructive criticism as well, since I'm still feeling out the series a bit. Likewise, if there's a character you want me to check out, toss a comment as well, and maybe we'll get to it after the Outbreak series is done. That's all for now, everyone. See you next time. Bye-bye.